Interesting. For instance, most of these are coins from ancient Rome, and this is a denarius.
Okay.
Denarius, it is said in the history books that this was a day's pay for a Roman centurion. And interestingly, think about this. This coin's worth about $160.
Okay.
Probably a decent day's pay for somebody even today. So
yeah,
further evidence that this stuff holds its value over time, over millennia.
Well, how much silver would you say is in a coin like this compared to like a quarter or a dime? Or
probably somewhere between a dime and a quarter.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Revelation 6:6. Kai ekusa hos phonein in mesoton tesaron zoon legusan. Koinix situ denariu kai tres koinικές krithon denariu kai ta elean kai tan oinan me adikeses. Translation. And I heard like a voice, and many English translations will insert something like a voice or something like that. I heard something like a voice in the midst of the four living creatures saying, and you know, a kuo can be followed by a genitive, but a kuo can also be followed by the accusative. And so here we have a more traditional double accusative construction. Accusative 1, the object; accusative 2, this participle, the complement. So again, starting at the beginning, I heard something, right, implied like a voice in the midst of the four living creatures, saying, a measure, right? This koinix is an ancient measuring unit, about like a liter or a quart. A measure of wheat for a denarius, right? C2 there is the word wheat would be your genitive of content, right? That's what's in the measure. And the denariu is a genitive of price. That's how much it cost. A denarius was how much the average worker made in the first century. So it's kind of shocking to say that all he could buy for his whole day's labor was one measure of wheat, certainly not enough to feed his family, and 3 measures of barley, right? Barley, an inferior grain, 3 measures of barley for a denarius. And the wine and the oil do not harm or do not injure. That last construction there, may adikeses, you may, as soon as you see the may there, you know it's going to be followed by a non-indicative, and that is in fact a subjunctive. It's the verb adikeo, to harm or to injure. Adikeo, notice that's a contract verb, right? The last letter of the stem there is an alpha, an epsilon, or an omicron. In this case, it's an epsilon, and it lengthens when we add a sigma. It lengthens there to an eta, but you see the sigma. What we have going on here, this is the may plus the aorist subjunctive. It's the way you say don't do something with the aorist. It's kind of strange in Greek. You don't use may plus the aorist imperative. You use may plus the aorist subjunctive. It's called the prohibitory subjunctive, the don't do it subjunctive. And so this form here is just an aorist active subjunctive, second person singular, used as a prohibitory subjunctive, do not harm. Commentators debate whether this refers to world history generally, or whether this is a time of especially difficult trial at the tribulation at the end of the age. But I think most are agreed that what we see here is a picture of famine and deprivation for average workers, common workers, right? They can barely make enough to support themselves or their family. But at the same time, there is some level luxury exists for an elite few, right? The wine and the oil are flowing for some people, but many other people can barely scrape by enough food to live on.
Know anything about ancients?
I mean, where's your guy on ancients?
Okay.
I just find it interesting. For instance, most of these are coins from ancient Rome, and this is a denarius.
Okay.
Denarius, it is said in the history books that this was a day's pay for a Roman centurion. And interestingly, think about this. This coin's worth about $160.
Okay.
Probably a decent day's pay for somebody even today. So
yeah,
further evidence that this stuff holds its value over time, over millennia.
Well, how much silver